Live from Lane Gymnasium, Lane Tech boys playoff basketball is on the air. It's the first round of the Chicago Public League playoffs as the 15th-seeded Lane Tech champions look to get a first-round victory against the White South champions this year, the Dyett Eagles, who come in as the 18th seed here on this Wednesday night in Chicago. Thanks so much for joining us. My name's Alex Burstein alongside Nathan Nowak here above midcourt at Lane Gymnasium. Nathan, we're getting started a little late, but this should be a fun one tonight. It's playoff time.
Yeah, it should.
And Lane Tech will be announcing the starting lineups in just a second. I'm not sure if we have an announcer, so we'll send you back down to the court and read you through those real quick. For the visiting Eagles tonight, it'll be Travion Satterfield, the senior wing/shooting guard, getting the start in that position. Number 3, Mario Nalen, the senior shooting guard/point guard. Navius Klinkscale, the number 1, the senior point guard. Santana Miller, number 10, a junior guard/point guard. And Demarion Sanderson, a senior shooting guard/wing/small forward. He does a little bit of everything. Sanderson rounds out these starting lineups. As for Lane Tech, they're going with the same starting 5 they went with in Saturday's loss to Downers Grove North. They are going with Shahid Solivo, the 6'4 junior shooting guard, coming off a quiet performance, only 7 points against the Trojans on Saturday. We'll see what he can do tonight. Number 10, Jack Soar, who had another quiet performance on Saturday. He just had 3. He gets a start. Number 23, Parker Williams, stays in the starting lineup, the 6'2 junior guard. Number 24, Jackson Labcom, the 6'2 junior combo guard, gets the start. And finally, the big man for Lane Tech, number 35, Dalton Scantlebury, gets the start. So those are going to be your 5 starters for each of these squads. Lane Tech last year made it to the second round of the city playoffs. They beat in the first round the Schurz Bulldogs. However, in the second game, they lost to Curie in a 20-point loss. As for Dyett, they were also in the city playoffs last year. They fell in a heartbreaker in the first round against Hyde Park. Hyde Park last year was a strong team. They only beat Dyett by 12, so this is an Eagles team that plays well in the postseason. We'll see what they can do here tonight. Nathan, you ready for some playoff basketball?
Yep. Should
be a fun one here on this Wednesday night, excuse me. It'll be the Eagles going from right to left across your screen, and the champions going from left to right. Dyett in their black away uniforms with yellow lettering. Lane Tech in their home whites with green lettering. Lane Tech with one last huddle, and then we'll be good to go here from Lane Gymnasium. It's Dyett and Lane Tech in first round public league action here in the city playoffs in Chicago. A lot of historic games have gone down in these city playoffs, featuring some of the most famous teams in the nation for prep hoops. We'll see who can add their name to the title books this season. Maybe it'll be one of these squads. We'll see. In the circle to start things off, there'll be Scantlebury on your left, and for the Eagles, it'll be number 4, Travion Satterfield, who just stands at 6'4", and Scantlebury easily wins the tip. We're underway here from Lane Gymnasium. Nathan, how important is it for Lane Tech to get an early start here tonight?
It's incredibly important, just for the fact that basketball, it's important for them to get a big lead because it just builds confidence in them, and it's such a big game like this. You need a lot of confidence. Just to make a few baskets early is really important for the Lane Tech champions. It gives them confidence just to do better and to start this off good.
Scantlebury unable to convert there on the first try of the first quarter here. And it looks like Dyett's going to slowly run their offense here. This is an Eagles team, comes into tonight 17-6 overall. They went 9-0 in the competitive White South. They'll be heading up to the Red Conference next year, the Red South Central, one of the toughest conferences in the nation, as Sanderson passes it off. Good job here by the Eagles to take some time off the clock. 6:50 to play here in quarter number 1 of action. Still scoreless here from Lane Gymnasium, as we'll see Sanderson pass it off again. Not a lot of size in this team. Lane Tech knew the 1-3-1 zone offense that this Eagles team plays heading into today, and you see it working early on as three-pointer made. An excellent shot there by Santana Miller, who hit that while falling to the ground. No foul was called, but that'll be an early lead for the Eagles.
Lane Tech's fallen behind early in lots of games and made a comeback but lost, so this is a big part of the game.
We saw the champions on Saturday take on Downers Grove North. That was the opposite case. They fell behind early to the Trojans, could not come back as Williams splashes a 3, and we're even here. It's going to be really important in these early moments to see how Lane can respond to early scores by the Eagles. 3-3 knotted up here, 5:55 to play in the first quarter of action. This game, as you've heard from the seeding, is a pretty evenly matched game as Solibo's going to get called for the foul. That was Miller heading to the ground, and that will be the first foul called here today. But you have the 15 seed in the champions, the 18 seed in the Eagles. Both these teams have a realistic chance of taking home the win here tonight and advancing to the second round. Eagles run their inbound pass. 5:45 here to play, quarter number 1 of action. Yet to see either team take a lead by more than a possession, as to the hoop and finishing with the easy 2 is Nevia Klingscale. He got to the basket with ease. So we saw the contested 3 made earlier by Miller, and now we see an easy score by Klingscale. This Dyett team, very impressive scoring early on. Push it out to Williams. He's made 1 of those. He's made 2. Parker Williams, who was held scoreless on Saturday, has 6 points in the first 3 minutes of this one. Very impressive from the junior early on here. The 3 ball has been a very important part of Lane Tech's play this year. Earlier tonight in their warm-up, Lane Tech identified a couple of these Dyett players who have not been shooting well from beyond the arc this year. If Lane Tech can win the 3-point battle, that would be big for them tonight as they try to take home a win, as Miller with an off-balance shot there. Jack Sword brings down the rebound, and Lane Tech is back in possession, trying to go past this 1-point lead. This is the first lead of the night for the champions. Saw the early 3-pointer made, and we're going to see a timeout called here by head coach Nicholas Legalvo. 4:29 to play here in the first quarter, and Nathan, pretty evenly matched here through the first couple of minutes.
Yeah, both teams have been attacking the paint. As you can see, 2 threes by Lane Tech, I believe, and it put us here at 6-5.
Seems very likely this game could ride or die by that 3-point shooting. Lane Tech is able to make the early 3s. Parker Williams, who's been an up-and-down 3-point shooter this year, makes those 2 early ones, and it could be big if he's able to continue to make those here tonight.
Overall, it looks like Dyett's really controlled the pace throughout this game so far.
They have. The first possession, we saw them hold the ball for just 15 seconds or so before going into their offense. They know that if they keep this a low-scoring game, that's probably one of their best chances to win. So we'll see if they continue to do that here in the second half of the first quarter. 4:29 to play, 6-5. Lane Tech with the early lead here in round 1 of the Public League playoffs. We'll go through the whole bracket later this evening during our halftime show. It's a 1-score update already. North Lawndale had an early deficit against the Marshall Commandos, another white Central team. It's 22-20 at the end of the first quarter as Jack Soar gets the pass into Solibo, and we're back in play. Jack Soar pulls for 3, and Lane will miss their first 3-point attempt of the night, and Eagles will push it in transition as we near the halfway point here in quarter number 1. Once again, they hold it near the logo. This time it is in the hands of Sanderson. Sanderson's had the ball on his hands every single possession for the Eagles. We've yet to see a shot from him yet, though, tonight. To the basket, trying for the finish left-hand side. Nailing can't get the 2 to go. Offensive rebounding, limiting the offensive rebounding is going to be big for the champions here tonight, as down low, Scantlebury goes up and finishes with the 2. Scantlebury, the tallest player on the court, and we'll see if he can use his size to his advantage here tonight.
Yeah, he can do it all for Lane Tech.
He's coming off a pretty quiet performance by his standards. 6 points, 2 of those were from free throws on Saturday. He was facing a taller Downers Grove North squad. There was about 2 or 3 bigs on that team, contrary to what he's seen a lot here today, and we'll see if he's able to really succeed against this smaller Dyett squad. Looks like Lane Tech going with maybe a zone here early on as Scantlebury pulls down the rebound. They push it in transition to Williams, and he slips. Travel will be called. Head coach Jamal Gill happy with that call. Gill's been the head coach since 2013, 2014. This team's been back and forth across the divisions of the Chicago Public League. They've not been in the red since 2007, 2008. They'll be back in the red conference next year. I was looking through some tweets, and I saw Gill tweeted in December that they have their eyes on the red conference. They ended up winning the white and are back in the red this year. This is a very skillful squad, and you cannot let the fact that they are in the white fool you. This is a very solid basketball squad facing off against Lane Tech here tonight. As they went 9-0 in conference play so far in the season. They are coming off a loss, though, against Bogan in the Orr Breast Cancer Shootout on Sunday. So looking to break a little bit of a losing skid, something both these squads are looking to do as Skanderson tries to drive in on Scantlebury, but he holds his feet defensively. He'll have another go at it. Nice defense here from the big man for the champions. And now they'll punch it out. Good job by the Eagles finding the open three-pointer. However, Sanderson bricks the three, and now it's Lane Tech in transition. South the key, Jack Soar swings it to Aquino into the game for the champions, who drains a three. Lane Tech shooting 75% from three tonight. They're 3 for 4, and the champions have a 6-point lead, their first multi-possession lead of the night. Talked about this earlier, just how important the three-point battle is going to be for these two squads. So far, we've seen Dyett make one, Lane Tech with 3 three-point makes. So Lane Tech with the early lead in that battle. Under 2 minutes to play here in the first quarter. Nice move to the basket. Lane Tech wanted to travel there. Instead, it's going to be a block. Goes off of Lane Tech. Dyett's looking to attack the paint and make the refs call some fouls tonight. Yeah, we saw them have some not success with the mid-range, the long-range shots, so it looks like now they're going to transition more into that paint play as they get the quick inbound to Sanderson. He's having a tough time with Scantlebury guarding him. Sanderson, I guess, technically is the tallest player on the court for Dyett. However, he comes in at just 6'4", as a block here from Saliba. He'll take it himself. Saliba, 1-on-4, loses the basketball, and now it'll be Dyett pushing the pace. 90 seconds to play, first quarter, trying for the fancy finish. Can't finish there is Clinkscale. Instead, it'll be a long 2 off the mark as well, and a second offensive rebound as Jack Soar gets called for the foul. 80 seconds now to play, 1:20 left in the first quarter of action. I don't think we've seen any players make more than one shot for either one of these squads. It's been a very diverse effort on the shots and scoring for both these squads, as we see Braden Rosenkrantz check into the game for Jackson Labcon. Rosenkrantz coming off a career-high performance on Saturday. He got 15 points in the in the loss against Downers Grove North. He was one of the one bright spots for the champions in that losing effort. So we'll also see Dylan Pepper checking into the game soon, as another foul is going to be called here against Jack Soar. It's going to be his second of the game here with just a minute to play in the first quarter. Pepper comes in for Scantlebury. Williams comes in for Jack Soar. For a couple games there, we saw Lane Tech not going with a lot of subs, going with the same 5, 6, 7 guys. Tonight, though, it looks like the substitutions may be a little more active here for the champions. 1 minute to go now here in Lane Gymnasium. First quarter action of the varsity Clitty playoffs, and another foul is going to be called here against Lane Tech. Referees calling a lot of defensive fouls. That's the third one on this possession called against the champions. 4th overall this half. So Lane Tech had 1 foul through the first 6.5 minutes. Now they have 3 in the last 30 seconds. So we'll get ready for the inbound pass. Despite all the defensive fouls, they've still been playing good defense. They've held them to 5 points so far. Yeah, and 3 of those came on the first or second possession of the game for Dyett. So this Eagles team has not been shooting well out of the gates. Lane Tech, meanwhile, you'd say pretty good shooting quarter for them. 3 made threes. As well as a nice putback from Dalton Scantlebury as passing it down low, trying to finish. Missing the 2 there was Satterfield, and now Lane Tech will have a chance for a final shot. Pepper gets it, drives the baseline, gives it down low to Williams. Possession will stay here with the champions. 23.3 seconds left. You got to imagine you want Williams to have the ball in his hands at the end of this one. He has 6 points. That's the most of any player on the court. So Lebo takes a shot, gets his own rebound, goes up again. This time he'll get fouled and will head to the line. 11-5 your score, 17.9 seconds left here in the first quarter. Foul was called there against Travion Satterfield. He's a returning player for this squad, but gets a costly foul here, and Saliba will miss the first free throw off the front of the rim. Free throws have been one of the only struggles this year for Saliba. He's coming off a performance where he went 2 for 3 from the line on Saturday, but we've seen some games this year where he just has not been able to make his shots. This time he'll go 1 for 2 from the line and extend the lead out to 7. 12-5, 15 seconds to play here in the first quarter. Eagles will hold for one final shot, trying to cut into this deficit. They can't make it a one-possession lead unless it's a 4-point game. They fire up the 3 and banks it in. An excellent shot there at the end of the corner from Santana Miller, his second 3 of the game, and it'll be a 4-point game as we enter the first quarter. We'll be back in just a second. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Lane Tech Boys Basketball here on the Lane Tech Athletics YouTube channel.
I'm trying with the,
Santana Miller with a 3 to cut it to a 4-point game, and we have a fun one through the first 8 minutes here at Lane Gymnasium. Nathan, what do you see out of both these squads through the first frame of action here?
Well, I saw 2 different attacking possessions on offense today. The Lane Tech champions have really tried to, attack it, but have also not been disappointed with the 3 today, as much of them have been falling. But for Dyett, they've really tried to attack the paint, draw some fouls, which really was a struggle for Lane in the first quarter defensively.
We did see the Eagles, though, 6 of their 8 points now coming from the 3 ball. We'll see if they kind of adjust their approach. It was interesting. They made the 3 at the start of the quarter. They made the 3 at the end of the quarter, but the middle 6-7 minutes there, they really could not score. We'll see how that changes here in the second quarter. It'll be Williams, Rosenkrantz, Aquino, Pepper, and Scantlebury, and very interesting here from the champions. They're going with 2 big men into the game in both Pepper and Scantlebury to start off here in quarter number 2 as the clock rolls and we are underway here in the second quarter. Dyett trying to cut this back to a one-possession game. They'll have a 3-pointer and drain it. Mario Nalen the second hits the 3. That is back-to-back scores from the Eagles, and just like that, it's a 1-point game. And the lead slowly drifting away here from the champions. So we saw them add in Pepper. They're going with 2 guys who play in that number 5 role as Scantlebury to the basket gets it to go. Does not get it to go. And the Eagles will get it back. 12-11 your score. Eagles with a chance to take their first lead since 3-0. It's Nayland again. This time he can't hit, and Scantlebury will pull down the rebound. So we've seen Scantlebury having a good day so far on the boards, and that height advantage seems to be coming into play for the champions.
So far on the possessions for Dyett, they've taken 2 threes already in this second quarter.
So we were right. We saw them have that little bit of success near the end of the first quarter. They're trying to bring that into the second 8 minutes as the 20-footer no good from Williams, and the Eagles will get it back. 6:40 to play in quarter number 2. Once again, the Eagles are just going to hold the basketball for a couple of seconds. That's their point guard who's mainly been doing it, Klinkscale. He had a couple of nice shots in the first quarter, but mainly he's just been the floor general for this Eagles squad. 6:08 to play. We've only seen 1 basket made. It was a 3-pointer by the Eagles. Jackson Labcon waiting patiently to come into the game as they're going to call a foul on the ground on Braden Rosenkrantz. And the fouls certainly hurting Lane Tech here early on.
Defensive fouls have definitely been impacting the game so far. Haven't gotten into a 1-and-1 so far, but definitely seems like that could be in order soon.
Yeah, just 2 fouls until the Eagles will be shooting free throws here at the second quarter mark of this game. 12-11, 1-point lead for the champions. Clinkscale gets it, being guarded by Aquino. It's Aquino, Labcon, Rosenkrantz, Williams, and Scantlebury. So Lane Tech goes back into just having their one traditional big man into the game as he comes up and gets a nice defensive possession there to keep the score. Instead, it'll be Aquino in the corner for a 3, and he misses his second one of the night. Made one of those shots earlier. This time he can't convert, and Miller, trying for the Hail Mary pass, can't get 2 hands on it.
Both teams trying to push the pace after a miss.
Yeah, so we've seen the style of play slow down a little bit, or excuse me, the scoring, I should say, slowing down a little bit. We saw some very fast-paced scoring there in quarter number 1. This time we've only seen 3 points through the first 2.5 minutes of play here in the quarter, and you got to imagine the next team that's going to score is going to have a big one, and that will be Lane Tech. Scantlebury down low hits the 2 in the league, back up to 3 here for the champions. Scantlebury now with 4 on the night. He's 2 away from matching his total from Saturday. He's having a much better game here tonight, and it'll be Eagles timeouts. 14-11 your score. We'll be back in just a second. You're watching Lane Tech boys basketball. Back here at Lane Gymnasium, 14-11 your score. Champions with the early lead over the Dyett Eagles. 5:03 to play here in quarter number 2 of action. Apologies, folks, for the slanted camera angle. We're having some problems with our tripod. We'll try to get those fixed at halftime. It'll be Eagles ball out of the timeout as Miller takes it, being guarded tightly by Aquino. The defense from Lane Tech has been strong so far, allowing just 11 points. 8 of them coming in the first quarter. They've only allowed 3 so far in quarter number 2 of action. However, their offense has not been as efficient at either. They've only scored 1 basket. Make it 2 as Scantlebury with his second transition point basket of this quarter number 2. And if Dalton Scantlebury gets going, that's going to be big here for the champions.
He certainly is a big part of Lane Tech's offense at times.
As down low, they're going to pass it up the top of the keys where they've had the most success shooting the 3. I would be surprised if the Eagles do not try to take some more shots from that point. However, it looks like Lane Tech's defense has buttoned up a little better as down low, they're going to find an opening, and finishing with the 2 is Satterfield. 16-13 your score. Dyett hanging in this one. They coming as the underdog, and Scantlebury jams it down. That is a 6 straight points for Dalton Scantlebury for this Lane Tech team, and he is easily the best player on the court right now for either one of these teams.
There has definitely been a momentum shift, especially with that dunk that just occurred.
And we saw early on Lane Tech trying to use the three-point shooting to their advantage. They've shifted. They've seen that Scantlebury is the tallest player on the court, but he's also athletic. They've worked that into their game plan, and they're up by 5, a third of their points coming from the big man, Dalton Scantlebury. 3:17 to play, quarter number 2 of action as Miller's going to queue up a big 3. Can't pocket it though, and the Eagles will get the rebound. 3 minutes and change now to play. Lane Tech student section making some noise. Not a super big crowd, but few fans coming out here for this first round playoff matchup. If Lane Tech wins here tonight, they'll most likely play Kenwood as Williams in transition, and this transition scoring, this is all you can want out of Lane Tech. Nathan, we saw that three-point scoring early on, but you gotta say this transition offense looks a lot easier for Lane Tech, and it's almost working even better now for Lane.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's more sustainable for Lane Tech because threes can come and go, but
as Williams tries to get the rebound here, instead just sends it back into the hands of Sanderson, who goes up for the two and gets it to go. Lane Tech definitely has the momentum boost. You can tell most of the time they're the more skilled team on the court, but right now it's the Eagles just hanging in as Scantlebury almost with the alley-oop, can't finish, goes up for two, and he'll head to the line to shoot two now. And almost a nice chance to score there for the big man on alley-oop. That would have sent the gymnasium into absolute pandemonium here. Instead, though, it'll just be free throws. Scantlebury, though, has been one of, if not the most consistent player from the line this season. He only shot 50% on Saturday, 2 for 4, but throughout the season, he's just been a very impressive free throw shooter as Scantlebury gets ready for the first shot, and this one is good, and Lane Tech lead back up to 6. Lane obviously would like to have a lead bigger than this near the end of the second quarter, but it's the playoffs. You win or you go home, and I'm sure head coach Nicholas Lugallo and this Lane Tech team will be happy with any amount of victory they can take home here tonight. It's going to be a short turnaround to the second round on Friday as Scantlebury gets ready for a second shot, and this one's good, 2 for 2 on the line from the big man.
making free throws is going to be a good way for Lane Tech to sustain this lead so far.
And he already is up to the 10-point mark, so Scantlebury has hit the double-digit mark early on. I imagine he's somewhat close in the rebounding category as well to gain a double-double. As three-ball missed, they push it to Williams in transition. Stumbles a little bit, though, and Sanderson, who's been all over the court for the Eagles, pulls it down. 100 seconds to play here, quarter number 2 of action. Been a quick-paced one to this one. We have not seen a lot of stoppages, not many fouls either. Neither team is in the bonus. We mentioned earlier, it looked like the Eagles were going to get into bonus, but since then, Lane Tech has not fouled, and as we say that, Lorenzo Kino gets fouls, the shooter here for the Eagles. And we'll see free throws coming up here for Dyett, Santana, Miller. I didn't really see anything on Miller ahead of time, doing some prep for this Eagles team, but he's been one of the more impressive players on the court, I'd say, for this Dyett team. We've only seen him hit shots from beyond the arc here, though, so we'll see if he can make one from inside the arc, and the first one he cannot, as Bartoli checks into the game for Kino. 1:27 to play here, quarter number 2 of action. Lane Tech hoping to head into the locker room with a lead. And there'll be a second miss as well. So Miller, who's been so impressive from beyond the arc, misses on his first 2 attempts from the charity stripe, and Lane Tech will slow down their offense now, up by 7 with 70 seconds to go in quarter number 2 of action. It's Labcon, Bartoli, Solivo, Scantlebury, and Williams, as Solivo miscommunication there with either Bartoli or Williams. I'm not sure if Williams was just a step behind there trying to cut through the baseline, but either way, possession now will go to the Eagles, and Lane Tech sours a chance to score here late in quarter number 2. Long pass received by the point guard, Klinkscale. He's only scored 2 points, but has been a big presence on the court. Sanderson, another player who has only scored once, but a big presence. He fakes the 3. Good closeout defense there from Bartoli, and looks like the Eagles may hold here with 40 seconds left. Eagles made a long trip out here to Lane Tech from the south side here. Their bus got stuck in traffic downtown as the long 2 missed here from Santana. And Lane Tech will have another shot to close out the quarter with a make. It'll be Labcon holding possession, 20 seconds, 22-15 your score. Lane Tech with the 7-point lead over the Eagles. Labcon back to Solivo, inside to Scantlebury. Labcon was wide open for three, decided not to take it. Instead, it's Williams who hits the three, his third of the night. Dyett trying to keep this from being a double-digit halftime lead. Three ball off the mark. Bartoli brings down the rebound, and at the halftime break, it's the Champions 25, the Eagles 15. We're going to go take a quick break and be back in a second. Don't go anywhere. Your halftime score, it's the Eagles 15, the Champions 25 here in round one of the Public League playoffs. Halftime here from Lane Gymnasium. It's the Lane Tech Champions 25, the Dyett Eagles 15, as we welcome you inside our booth here at Lane Tech. Alex Bursting alongside Nathan Nowak. Lane had a slow start to the second quarter. They ended strong, a double-digit lead. What did you see out of both these squads here in the first half?
I thought that Lane Tech really did a good job of having a very good rounded attack on offense. In the first quarter in particular, they really shot the three well, but in the second quarter, they really tried to push the pace and transition, get a few easy points, besides this three-point shot at the end of the quarter. But it's been a good display. Defensively for Lane Tech, they have to stop fouling defensively.
Yeah, foul's the main issue there. We saw a couple of openings on the court for them, but overall Lane Sack's zone was playing well, but the foul's the only trouble. It was two very different quarters for the champions, 3-pointers in the first quarter, but Dalton Scantlebury in that second quarter, the transition offense, working really well for the champions.
Yeah, it seemed like they tried to feed him the ball in transition, get him an easy layup, and he has 10 points so far, 11 points so far, and, he's been doing a great job so far for the champions.
Yeah, double-digit scoring for both Parker Williams and Dalton Scantlebury as we take you down back to the court. 5:20 to go here. First round of the Public League playoffs. Second round will be coming up on Friday here. It's a very busy bracket as we'll bring up the bracket here on the screen. We'll run you through the matchups here tonight. Give you maybe some predictions. There's a lot of Red Northwest teams in action. All 10 of the Red Northwest teams in action. 4 of them are playing each other in 2 interconference matchups. So the rest of them are are playing against white conference opponents, as in this one. So taking you down the bracket from the top, Whitney Young taking on Amundsen here tonight. Brooks taking on Taft in what could be a good game. Taft is coming up to the Red Conference next year. They take on the Eagles tonight and are trying to show that they are a team to mess with next year in the Red Conference. We have Orr taking on Perspectives MSA in one of the 2 Red Northwest versus Red Northwest matchups. And Curie taking on Agricultural Science ends that first quadrant of the bracket. Simeon, one of the top 2 overall seeds from the Red South, taking on Catalyst Maria. They actually fell to the number, I guess you'd say, 3 seed here after losing to Curie last week, and instead Kenwood ends up winning the conference. So slightly tougher road there for Simeon. Lincoln Park taking on Inglewood. Perspectives Leadership against Morgan Park, and North Lawndale against Marshall. As we mentioned, that's the one game we did see an update from, and it was 22-20 at the end of the first quarter, with actually the Commandos, Marshall, in the lead over Lawndale. Marshall, a longtime Red Conference team, they dropped out into the white last year. They finished second in the white West this season, but they're looking for a big-time upset here. That finishes out the top half of the bracket. To the right side we head, the bottom on your screen. This is the bracket that Lane Tech is in, and this is the road they will have to face to try to get to the city semis at UIC's Credit Union 1 Arena coming up next week. Kenwood taking on Corliss. That is the other game, and I guess you could say this mini regional. So that means the winner of this one's going to likely have to face off against Kenwood. Obviously one of the best teams in the state. They won one of the top conferences in the state, and that's going to be a tough one for whichever one of these teams pulls out the win here tonight. It's Phillips taking on Longwood and Farragut taking on Northside. That could be an interesting one. The Mustangs had a strong year in the White North, finishing second. That finishes out the third quadrant. And finally, the last 8 teams, Westinghouse and Jones. That should be an interesting one. Lane Sack lost to both of these squads. They lost to Jones by 1. They lost to Westinghouse by 2. So by the cumulative property, those teams 2 pretty evenly matched. So that could be an interesting one. Then you have Lindblom taking on Payton, another matchup that should be interesting. Lane Sack taking on the Grizzlies next week. Clark taking on Prosser, and Hyde Park, one of the hottest teams in the state, taking on Bogan, the team that beat this Dyett team on Sunday, will round out your 32-team bracket here in the Public League. So your top 4 seeds, it's Kenwood, Young, Simeon, and Westinghouse. Obviously, the Red South Central, though, has had a much stronger year this season, as they have had the last couple of years, than the Red Northwest. So you have to highlight Curie, as well as who's taking on Agricultural Science, and also Hyde Park, who's taking on Bogan. 2 teams that are not top 4 seeds, but who are very, very impressive squads and definitely have a chance to make a run at the city title. Even squads like Perspective Leaderships out of the Red South Central, very good this year. It's hard to see a team other than Whitney Young making a true contender for the city title, however, from the Red Northwest, but you never know. It's the playoffs, anything can happen, and Lane Tech looking to start their own Cinderella story. They're the favorites in this one, but if they win, they'll be the heavy underdog heading into Friday's matchup at Kenwood. Nathan, a minute to go until the second half here. What do the champions have to do to close out the victory here?
They have to make some free throws. If they're going to foul you, you have to capitalize on that. And defensively, they got to stop fouling for the same reason. Just don't give up easy points. Continue to push in transition. That gave them a bunch of easy points in the first half.
That was actually a relatively quiet half for the champions when it came to free throws. I think they only went to the line maybe 2 times. We saw Scantlebury hit both of his and Salibo go 1 for 2 from the line. But in a game like this, which very well could be decided by single digits, the difference-making factor very well could be those free throws. Only 25 points in that first half by the champions. Their offense has not been super consistent, but their defense has been doing very well, holding Dyett to just 15 points. We'll see if they can keep up that defensive effort here in the second half. It's Parker Williams leading all scores with 11 points to go along with 10 from Dalton Scantlebury. Those two alone have outscored the Eagles here as we start the third quarter. The leading scorer for the Eagles is Santana Miller. He had 6 points off of 2 threes. All of them came in the first quarter, though. They ended with, I think, 8 points to end the first quarter. They just scored 7, so they've yet to score double digits in a quarter. You got to imagine they'll have to do that to contend here in the second half. It's going to be the starters back on the court to start off this second half for the champions: Scantlebury, Jack Tsor, Shahid Salibo, Jackson Labcon, and Parker Williams. And if it's the starters for the Eagles, which I imagine it will be, it'll be Satterfield, Nayland, Clinkscale, Sanderson, and Miller, your 5 on the court for the Eagles. 16 minutes to see who stays alive in the Public League playoffs. Lane Sack looking to move on to the second round for at least the third straight year. For at least the second straight year. My freshman year, they lost to Phillips in the first round. Then sophomore year, no city playoffs due to COVID. Last year, they got past Schurz in the first round. We'll see what they can do here in the third year as Williams misses the 2, gets his own rebound, goes up for 2, and Salibo gets the punch in. That is the first field goal made tonight by Shahid Salibo. Made 1 free throw there in the first half. But if he can heat up, that's going to be a nightmare for this Eagles squad here in quarter number 3 and 4. Sanderson fakes the 3. Lane Sack's been playing zone defense for the most part here tonight. Right now it looks like a 2-3 with Williams and Jack Tsor at the top. A lot of switching though, as Labcon will come on to Miller. Combined 10 points from the 5 players on the court right now for the Eagles, as a travel is going to be called. Foot slip there, it looked like, for Nayland, and an error there from the Eagles will keep us at a 12-point lead for the champions. This is the first time tonight Lane Tech has led by more than 10 points. The referee is a stoppage in play there. I think the clock might not have started. So we'll redo that. Gives the Eagles a chance to reset their full court press. We haven't seen that much aggressive pressing out of either one of these squads. We'll see that again as Salibo does get trapped in the corner, but sends it to Scantlebury. Williams with the pump fake, gives it to Jack Tsor. In the corner, Labcon, beautiful ball movement. Can't finish with the 3 though. Salibo tried to punch back the rebound, but can't get it to go. In transition, Miller loses the basketball, but heads out of bounds. 6:49 to play here in the third quarter, and the two teams still look pretty evenly matched to start off this third quarter of play.
Dyett in the first half was really slow with their offense, so we'll see how the pace changes in the second half.
Seems like early on they're going a little bit quicker. I imagine if that urgency may come with the current deficit. They don't have as much time to waste here. Early on, we saw them taking 15-20 seconds before even making a pass, as we're going to see a pushing foul call against Williams, his first here tonight. We have 6.5 to play in the third. Fouls ended up being 6 called against Lane Sack in the third quarter. So the Eagles did not go, as Jack Tsor with a beautiful tip, and he just took the inbound by himself. A beautiful defensive stand there by Jack Tsor. And Salibo will see what the call is. Ooh, they give it to Lane Sack. Looked like from our ankle that went off of Solibo's knee, but a lucky break here keeps the ball with the champions. We'll see if they can take advantage of it. Labcon to Solibo, almost the alley-oop, but he finishes with the 2. A 4-0 scoring run from Shahid Solibo to start off this third quarter, and Lane Tech now comfortably in the lead at 14 points. This is looking good for the champions. 3 missed. Scantlebury brings down the rebound, and Lane looking really good on defense, and they've gotten some shots to fall here early on. Head coach Nicholas Legabo not happy after that missed pass from Jackson Labcon, and a full timeout's going to be called by the Eagles. Their second of the third of the game, I should say. 6:01 to play, third quarter of action. Nathan, what have you seen change after the halftime break for both these teams?
Well, for Dyett, their pace has definitely increased. Well, it's what they have to do when they trailed by 10 at halftime. They had to pick up the pace. As you said, they haven't scored double digits in the quarter yet for this game. For Lane Tech, they've continued to attack the basket. They haven't fell in love with the 3 so far.
And we've seen this with Lane Tech in a couple of games this year. They fall behind. They try to play with that fast-paced offense, but because of the fast-paced offense, they're rushing shots. We've kind of seen that out of Dyett. They've been taking shots, but they've not been great here early on. Shot selection may come into play here. 6:01 to play, third quarter. Both the teams are going to break their huddle. That was a full timeout taken by head coach Jamal Gill of this Dyett team. He wanted a lot of time to talk things over with his squad. This is the last game on the schedule for the Eagles before the state playoffs. So if they win, they'll keep their regular season going. If not, it'll be the state playoffs or bust for the Eagles. They play in 2A, so a slightly easier road to a regional title for them than what Lane Tech will have to face off against. As this pass deflected, Williams brings it down, and Lane Tech will bring things up the court. Williams had the wide open 3, misses it. Scantlebury tried for the putback, gets his own rebound, and gets it to the go. And it's just so hard to stop someone of Scantlebury's size when he has 2 inches on anyone else on the court right now.
Yeah, he's really taking advantage of the height of the other team.
We've seen him do that in public league games, especially this year. We saw him do that against Clark. We've seen him in a couple other games this year just with that height advantage. Really use it. It's been slightly harder against the private schools and suburban schools for whatever reason for Scantlebury. But in the public league especially, he's been very impressive with that height. As Williams switches off on the defense, they swing it around the perimeter, and we'll see a 3 from Sanderson. He misses that one. And you gotta imagine some shots are due to start falling for the Eagles, but they have not hit a shot yet in the second half, under 5 to play. So that's 3 minutes of a scoring drought for the Eagles. They missed a shot to end this first half, and that's continued here. They'll have free throws, though, to try to get their first points here of quarter number 3. Lorenzo Aquino set to check in here shortly for the champions. We saw that active substitutions early on for the champions. Since then, though, it seemed to slow down a little bit. They've been sticking with the same 5 or 6 guys.
Yeah, it's what's been working for them. They've really increased this lead since halftime. It's been 10, now it's 16, so they're just going with what works for right now.
His first shot's going to be missed here. That is 3 straight free throws missed here by the Eagles. Talk about this in terms of Lane Tech, but for the Eagles trying to get back into a game, missing those free throws really hurts them. See Sanderson with 1 more shot. 4:41 to play, third quarter. He gets to this one, and the Eagles, after 3 minutes, 13 seconds, finally on the scoreboard here in the third quarter. So Lebo with the ball has scored 4 in that time frame, looking to add some more to his total as Scantlebury's pass gets picked off. He fell on the ground. Miller to Sanderson, and Bartoli almost with the block there, but it falls into the basket. And a little bit of energy injected into this Eagles team. Eagles are going to need some energy to come back in this one. Lane's just had the momentum, it seems, most of tonight's game with the home court advantage as Solibo, long pass, almost picked off. Labcon down low. Scantlebury gets the 2 to go.
He keeps the impacting this game so far.
14 points now on the night for Dalton Scantlebury as Lane Tech stretches the lead back out to 15 points. And if the Eagles don't have a response for him, this game could be wrapping up somewhat quickly. Got started about half an hour, 45 minutes late here at Lane Gymnasium. As we mentioned, Dyett in the White South. They had a long ride up here. Got stuck in traffic near downtown, but eventually were able to get going. But their offense just has not seemed to be in place as another missed 2. Solibo pushes it to Labcon, looking for his first points of the night. Can't get to go. Rebound Bartoli who gets the 2. And Lane Tech's offense just rolling on all cylinders. They too were in a scoring drought for the first minute or two, but these last 3-4 minutes, I think their offense has been producing at a pretty similar pace we saw at the second quarter. Huddy Nayland punches it back to Satterfield. Satterfield's the starter. He's been in the game, but just has not had the ball in his hands a lot. As Miller will get the offensive rebound, but misses the shots. And the shots just continue to not fall here for Dyett. Instead, it's Aquino trying to go coast for coast. Can't finish. Scantlebury there to pick up his miss, though, and gets the 2 to go. Every single possession seems like it's almost the same play for the champions, but don't fix what's not broken. As Braden Rosenkrantz gets ready to check in for the champions. Timeout called by head coach Jamal Gill of this Dyett squad. 37-18 the score. And Nathan, Lane Tech's been doing the same thing almost every single possession. They're pushing it in transition, taking shots. If they make them, they make them. But if not, Dalton Scantlebury is there to pick it up and make the layup. He has 16. How impressive has he been here tonight?
Yeah, ever since the first quarter, they've really been pushing the pace in transition, getting good buckets. Sometimes they kicked it out for threes, and then, yeah, Scantlebury just kept getting the rebounds and just putting them back up for Lane.
Seems like you might be the good luck for him, charm for him, Nathan. Last time you were in the broadcast with us against Orr, he had a really, really good game, having another one of those type of nights here tonight. It's a 19-point lead for the champions. 2.5 to play here in the third quarter. Head coach Jamal Gill, we can hear him up in the broadcast booth. He is yelling at his squad right now, trying to fix this lineup, currently trailing by 19 points. They're going to need a comeback and need it soon to get back in contention of getting a round 1 win here in the Public League playoffs. It's a Dyett team that only brought 12 players dressed to tonight's game. They do not have the numbers that Lane Tech has. Lane Tech dressing 16 of their 17 players. Jack Davis is scratched here tonight, but Lane Tech definitely has the numbers here, and that has been an advantage. They've definitely been able to push it in transition with the subs. Their conditioning looks very well, and I imagine they'll continue to do that here with 2.5 to play in the third. It's Bartoli, Rosenkrantz, Solibo, Scantlebury, and Aquino, the 5 to break the huddle for the champions. And Eagles basketball. Nayland gets it top the key to Clinkscale. He holds. Rosenkrantz backing off. It's interesting. We see the Eagles returning here to kind of a slower pace offense. They find down low Sanderson, who goes up for 2. Did not look like there was any contact, but the referees call it. And he will head to line where he is 1 for 2 from the day, shooting free throws. Williams gets ready to check in after the first free throw.
It seems like Dyett so far has gotten a decent amount of free throws this quarter.
Yeah, they've been shooting the ball from the line more than Lane Tech has, but they have not taken advantage of it. Only 1 made free throw today. They'll make it 2 as Sanderson hits that shot. Marion Sanderson, a senior shooting guard slash wing slash small forwards for these seniors. Both these squads, these playoff games, so important. You can see your career, at least your high school career, nearing an end. You want to keep it going as long as possible. And we'll see if Sanderson can will his team back into making this a game, as it's going to be a steal from Nayland. 17-point game, 2 minutes to play in the third quarter. Still long ways to work back for the Eagles, who've dug themselves quite a hole here in the third quarter, but it all starts with a 2-pointer or a 3-pointer. It will be a 3-point attempt missed. And we saw the 3-pointers falling for the Eagles in the first quarter, but since then, that has just not been the case. Jackson Labcon gets ready to check back into the game. He comes in for Lorenzo Aquino after a brief stint on the court for the senior. Lane Tech going with a very young lineup right now on the court. Three sophomores, 2 juniors. And their young guys some chance. The Lane Tech JV team will be in action after this. They're taking on, I want to believe, Sen in the first round of the Public League playoffs. It's different in the playoffs, different squads for the varsity and JV teams because of different records during the season and different brackets. So I believe it's Sen, the first round opponent for the JV squad. Lane Tech varsity taking good care of this Dyett team. 37-20 to lead. Scantlebury down low, and a blocking foul is going to be called. Referee dancing there near the baseline to call the blocking. And looks like Scantlebury will go to the line. He's 2 for 2 there today.
Dyett has really increased the intensity of their defense.
We have seen Lane's scoring decrease the last couple of minutes a little bit because of that. However, still comfortably in a 17-point lead. As Scantlebury makes another one. 17 points for him, 3 for 3 from the line. He's had an almost perfect night here. No fouls, no complaints in the play of Dalton Scantlebury as he gets ready for a second free throw. It's been a pretty quiet night from Shahid Salibo for his standards. Williams has strong second half, but when you need someone to step up, Scantlebury has done that here tonight for the champions in a playoff atmosphere. Nayland fires up the 3, can't get to go. Williams rips down the rebound. And 1:15 now to play, quarter number 3 of action. Rosenkrantz, who has not scored yet tonight, coming off a career-high performance, has the turnover here. Fight on the ground for it, and I think we'll get a jump ball. Possession arrow points towards the Eagles. See Kenny Rosario check into the game momentarily. We've mainly seen Rosario this year used when Lane Tech wants some extra defense on the floor. And looks like they're going to try to protect this lead right now with Rosario coming into the game. 38-20, currently an 18-point lead for the champions. I don't know if you'd classify this as a complete blowout, but Lane Tech this second and third quarter has been far outmatching the skill level as Dyett, as Sanderson hits a quick 2. But we've seen the Eagles make some shots the last couple of minutes. We'll see if they have a fourth quarter comeback here at Lane Gymnasium. Williams pushes it to Labcon, finds an open Rosario. Rosenkrantz for 3 and can't get to go. Lane's missed a couple of open looks from beyond the arc here in the third quarter. 30 seconds to play in the third period. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein alongside Nathan Nowak. First round of the Public League playoffs. Dyett Eagles looking for a late comeback, but plays like that will not help. Goes straight into the hands of Williams. He's going to push it up the right-hand side. Eagles are trying to draw a foul there, but won't get it. Labcon to Williams, 2 seconds on the clock, cannot hit the 3, and that will bring us to the end of the third quarter. 38-22 your score. We'll be back in just a second. Don't go anywhere. 8 minutes from Lane Tech advancing to the second round of the Public League playoffs. To quarter number 4 we go, 38-22. Lane Tech with the lead over the Dyett Eagles in the 15 versus 18 matchup here in round number 1 of the Public League playoffs. Lane Tech looking to advance to the second round for the second straight year. Last year they defeated Schurz in the first round. They fell in the second round to the Curry Condors. They're going to have another tough second round matchup if they're able to pull off the win here tonight, facing off likely against Kenwood on Friday evening. But Nathan, they've looked pretty good here. At least they've held the Eagles to only 22 points through the first 24 minutes, and also they've varied their scoring in a couple different ways here. Dalton Scantlebury especially impressive here. It'll be Lab Khan, Rosenkrantz, Rosario, Scantlebury, and Salibo, your 5 on the court. So a mix of starters and a couple of guys coming off the bench here as Salibo tries for the block. Instead, is going to get called for the foul as Clinkscale took it to the basket, and he will head to the line to shoot a couple of shots. Clinkscale, a second-year varsity guy, was a contributor for this squad last year. Had 11 points in the IHSA State playoff game last season. Tonight, Lane Tech has done a really good job holding him defensively. Just 2 points on the night, and he'll keep it at 2 as he misses the front end of the 2 free throws. 7:51 to go. That was the second foul called against Salibo. Had a 7-point performance on Saturday. Just 5 points for the Lane Tech star here tonight. As second free throw is going to be made. If you look at the final score for this one, it's not going to look like a super exciting offensive performance as Dalton Scantlebury hits another 2. Their offense has done what the squad needs to do for the lead. This is not a game that they needed a lot of scoring to win. Their defense really needed to step up. They prepared well for the 1-3-1 offense that this Eagles team plays, and it's paid off in dividends here with 7.5 to play. Down low, monster block from Dalton Scantlebury. A complete rejection there of Travion Satterfield. And Eagles will keep possession, but Scantlebury just padding an excellent stat line that he already has. 19 points for the sophomore. As it'll be Rosenkrantz bringing it up the court. A little bit of a full court press. They're able to break it through Scantlebury. Salibo coming to the basket, goes up for 2 and gets it to go.
It keeps working for them. Transition.
At the Lane Tech girls basketball game last night against Curie, they had their first playoff game against the Condors. A big win for them, but the key for them was the transition offense. It's been 2 days of very, very good transition scoring for the Lane Tech champions on the boys and girls basketball side. As rebounds here from Satterfield. Scantlebury with 19 points. We mentioned that a couple times tonight. His career high is 24 with 6.5 to play. He easily could get past that mark. We'll see if it does indeed happen in these final 6.5 minutes of play. As Sanderson sails it over the head. Nice save by one of the Lane Tech security guards, Mr. Stone over there, who bounced it off the staircase to keep it from going down the tunnel. And Lane Tech will get possession back. This time they break the press with a long pass to Rosenkrantz. Passes it into the corner, and the foul's going to be called. Once again, a half with not a lot of fouls on either of these squads. 4 against Lane Tech, 3 against the Eagles. There's a chance we see no bonus free throws taken by either one of these squads here this evening. As Rosario feeds Rosenkrantz, pulls for 3, can't get to go. He's had a rough night from beyond the arc. Luckily, Lane Tech has not needed those points. Currently with a 19-point lead, sailing to the basket, finishing with the 2 there is Miller. It's really been the same 3 or 4 guys scoring all night for the Eagles. It'll be interesting to see how the stat line finishes for Dyett. As nice putback there from Scantlebury. Almost an electrifying alley-oop from Shahid Salibo. The ends with 2 more points for Scantlebury, who's now 2 closer to a career high. 21 on the night now for Lane Tech's number 35.
It seems whatever Dyett does, they can't stop the transition offense.
Yeah, I mean, when you don't have that height advantage, it's so hard to do because Lane Tech's just finishing down low, and most of the time it's coming with Salibo, who's 6'3", 6'4", and Scantlebury, 6'6". So they just don't have the height to break that. Rosario pulls for a rare three, can't get to go. Once again, though, it's Scantlebury with the rebound. Can't finish with the two, though. Very excited to see how many rebounds he ends up with tonight. Definitely could be a career high in rebounds for him. Seems like he's cleaned up almost every single miss for the champions tonight. Has also had a lot of defensive rebounds. As we reach the under 5-minute mark to go, foul on the ground is going to be called against Rosario. Trevor Goodhart checking into the game for the champions. He comes in for Salibo. Salibo wants to stay in the game, has some words for head coach Nicholas Legalbo checking out of the game, but he will begrudgingly head back to the bench. 46-25 your score, 21-point lead for the champions. Lane obviously not wanting any of their stars to get injured before a big game on Friday, as the three is going to be hit by Nayland to bring the deficit back within 20 here. Salibo was a big part of this champions team breaking the press there, as Rosenkrantz will miss that three. We'll see if they find other ways to break what the Eagles have thrown full court against them, as Scantlebury brings down another rebound. It's interesting, Nathan, even with this big lead, Lane's still been pushing the pace here in this final quarter of play.
Yeah, just not letting up, really trying to send a message.
As looks like Goodhart stepped out of bounds there, so the Eagles will get possession back. We assume that game on Friday is going to be a 5 p.m. tip-off. There's definitely a chance it's earlier in the day or later, depending on their JV team. There is no school for CPS on Friday, just professional development for teachers. So we'll see at what time they end up calling for that Friday matchup. We'll have the call whenever it is from Kenwood's Gymnasium on the south side of Chicago. Lane Tech hosted a Southside school here today, and barring a last-minute upset, they'll be heading in the opposite direction with their own team bus on Friday, as Sanderson gets ready, being guarded by Rosenkrantz. He's been impressive driving to the basket, just has had struggles finishing, as we see that once again here tonight. And it looks like Dyett may have called off the Dogs. They did not full course press for the first time in a while, and Rosenkrantz hits the three and missed a couple of those. You could tell he was wanting to make a shot, and he gets it there to push the lead for Lane Tech back up to 21. 49-48 your score, 3:20 to play. Scantlebury's out of the game as well. So it looks like he's going to finish his night with 21 points. An excellent performance from him. Williams also out of the game. He had 11 or 13 on the night. Double-digit performance from those two, who are very impressive, as Bartoli checked into the game alongside Pepper, Labcon, Goodhart, and Rosenkrantz. That's now 3 sophomores and 2 juniors still into the game for Lane Tech. The younger guys gained some very good experience here in a city playoff game. As driving right-hand side, finishing with the 2 is Klinkscale. We've seen a couple of nice cuts from him. He now has 3 points. That was actually his first made field goal of the night. He's had some nice looks at the basket. Hasn't been able to finish a lot, but gets it there. Excuse me, second field goal. He has 5 points now. As Rosenkrantz fires for 3 again, and he's got it. Lane Tech passes the half-century mark in points. They have 52 on the night. And a timeout called here by Jamal Gill. 52-30. Lane Tech putting the cherry on top of an impressive performance here in the first round of the Public League playoffs. Saw a slow start to this one. First quarter, we saw Dyett get out to an early lead. It was a single-digit lead, but most of the time for the champions, but most of the rest of the game, second quarter on, we've just seen the Lane Tech champions making their shots. They've been pushing this lead up to now 22 points, which I believe is tied or possibly the largest of the lead of the night tonight for Lane Tech. And they're going to be able to head out of Lane Gymnasium tonight happy with a victory over this Eagles squad, most likely. Dyett, meanwhile, going to drop to 17-7 on the year. They will await IHSA state seeding, which should be coming up in the next week or so. I believe Lane Tech might be playing a couple of games even after the seeding comes out. They have 4 more games scheduled, plus now the game against Kenwood, so at least 5 more games for the champions. They play Schaumburg at home next Tuesday. Mather a week from Saturday at home for senior night, and then not next week, but in 2 weeks, 2 away games on Monday and Wednesday at Hayden and at Von Steuben for the champions. Lane Tech's able to hold on to this one. They're going to get back above 500 on their home court this year. They've had very mixed results, some good wins, some bad losses here on the court at Lane Gymnasium. Currently sit at 6-6 at home, but if a win here tonight, they can get to 7-6. Spartola is going to get called for the foul. That's foul number 7, and that will put the Eagles in bonus. So we are going to see some free throw shooting here late in quarter number 4. Rosario gets ready to check back into the game. As Santana hits the front end of a 1-and-1. He comes in for Labcon, and Lane Tech now gets all of their starters off the court. They'll have about 48 hours to rest, most likely, before the next tip-off in the city playoffs. Santana looking to make it 2 for 2, and he does. Cuts it to a 20-point lead. Dyett still playing aggressively. They haven't given up despite the struggle shooting here, as they'll have a pick-off straight to the basket, finishing and 1. They're going to say count the basket. Travion Satterfield. A nice attempt there by Trevor Goodhart to take the charge, but Satterfield is a man on the mission there, finishes with the 2, 52-34. Be the 8th team foul now on the champions. This is an and 1, so he will get just 1 free throw, whether it's a make or a miss, and it will be a miss off the back of the rim. Artoli brings down the rebound, and he gets fouled now. Didn't see a lot of fouls early on. They're kind of racking up here late in the 4th quarter. Couple of fans heading out. We have the Dyett cheerleaders there in the top right corner of your screen. They brought a few fans with them as well. Nice showing from the Dyett faithful here tonight. As Bartoli gets it. Lane just trying to take some time off the clock, and a pushing foul is now going to get called against Satterfield.
The fouls just seemed like they just comes in bunches. Sometimes they just, there was just tons of spurts of them, but other times it just seemed like there was no fouls called in this game.
Yeah, we think back to that first quarter possession where Lane Tech got called for, I think, 3 defensive fouls on 1 offensive possession from the Eagles. So tonight they have definitely been some consistent foul bursts from the referees. As to the basket, unable to finish there is Miller. Bartoli pushes it to Rosenkrantz, and he gets fouled. That'll be team foul number 5 now on Dyett. 9 against the champions, 5 against the Eagles. And Nathan, a lot of positives to take out tonight for Lane Tech. What have you been most impressed with here from the champions?
Their transition offense has really been stellar. It really helped build this lead to where they are today. They kept pushing the pace throughout the game. Seemed like it started in the second quarter, which really resulted in them making this lead grow and grow and grow.
Yeah, we've seen the three-point shooting exist in some games for the champions, the transition offense to exist in others. If they're able to put those two together later in the playoffs, that's going to be a key. That's going to put together a pretty good combination for the champions. As Rosario's going to get it to Rosenkrantz. 60 seconds left in this one. Lane Tech looking for a couple of extra baskets to pad this victory. Instead, it's going to be the Eagles, and an easy 2 by Klinkscale, who is waiting there for the basket. Goodhart gets it to Rosenkrantz. Rosario. Lane's going to finish the game with all underclassmen on the court. 4 of them being sophomores, actually. Trevor Goodhart, the only junior on the floor right now. But these are players you're going to see the next couple of years for this Lane Tech squad. And you can see they're able to hold with a varsity squad, even with these 5 on the court right now. They've been able to hold with the Eagles pretty well for the last couple of minutes. 40 seconds now on the clock. Looks like Lane Tech maybe trying to run out the clock. Nice play, though, here. Will not allow that to happen. Sanderson to the hoop, finishes with the 2. Couple of late scores here from the Eagles have got this to a 14-point game. 20 seconds now left to go in the 4th. Rosario in the corner to Bartoli, who take a couple of dribbles. Top the key to Rosenkrantz, and looks like Dyett's going to foul here. 10.7 seconds, and probably a little too, not enough time to cut into a 12-point lead, but Rosenkrantz will have the chance to add to his 6 points. As we mentioned, he's coming off a performance on Saturday. He had 15 points in that one. He might be a big part of this playoff run if he can be good for a couple of baskets. As a quick 2 made here by Sanderson. They're going to let the clock run out, and that will be the end of this one. Lead gets cut down to 10 at the end with a very impressive performance here, 52-42. Lane Tech takes down Dyett. What are your takeaways from this victory here, Nathan?
Just to see how good Lane Tech is when they're really pushing the ball in transition. At times, the 3 really fell for them, but they didn't fall in love with it. As I said, they really pushed the ball, and it resulted in good results for them.
We've seen this year a lot of different type of Lane Tech teams come onto the court. Tonight, it was a winning one. They get the win in round 1 of the playoffs behind a 21-point performance from sophomore Dalton Scantlebury. Very impressive from him. Lane Tech will be back in action on Friday, likely against Kenwood, likely on the road. Check out the Lane Tech Hoops Twitter for full updates on that. But wherever it is, we'll have the call for that one in what should be a fun one. Parker Williams also with an impressive performance. He finished with 11 or 13. Those 2, Williams and Scantlebury, were your 2 double-digit scores. That's just about going to do all of our coverage here tonight from Lane Gymnasium. It's an impressive performance from the Lane Tech champions. They get past the 8-team seeded Dyett Eagles, 52-42. For Nathan Nowak, my name is Alex Bursting. Your final score from Lane Gymnasium. It's the Lane Tech champions 52, the Dyett Eagles 42. Good night.